Hello! Hello, everyone. A beautiful day for some smashing.
Told the information that this person was told, turned around, violated Andy's trust. Andy didn't say this to this person, knowing that it would be shared to the wider world. You're not supposed to have a complete understanding of the inner workings of the band and why they're doing what they're doing and their full motivations on any given thing.
Now, I know I'm opening up yet another video by talking about some sad news. This is the second video in a row where I probably have my face in the thumbnail looking kind of distraught or sad, but genuinely, this is some of the worst news that I've ever heard in my life, and Zoomers across the world are going to reel in absolute agony. Now, if you've got no idea what I'm talking about, there's a clue in the shirt that I'm wearing. This very nice Death Grip shirt. Now, one thing I will mention is I am no music aficionado. As you know, leave me alone! Metro's booming track, Good Kid and Mad City. So yeah, I really do try to stay away from music. I stay in my own lane as a small little white boy. I listen to Blade, Echo 2K, and basically Death Grips. But now it seems to have came out that Death Grips, the band, are quite possibly disbanding. It might actually be so over. You know that meme of the guy pointing at the chalkboard? It's like nothing ever happens. This could be actually something that might happen. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this is because after the whole Good Kid, Mad City, Metro's booming track, I should stay well away from music as much as possible, which, yeah, valid point. But Death Grips is unironically a band that I grew up with. Okay, Holy White incoming, but I think when I was growing up at school, the two groups that I would listen to would be Young Lean and also Death Grips.
Isn't Young Lean a solo artist?
Yeah, shut up. Now, if you are a certified pyrocynical old head and you've been watching the channel for a while, you probably noticed that I sprinkled a lot of Death Grips references around videos. I mean, here's a good example, right? Someone re-uploaded an outro montage from one of my older videos before I actually had outro montages. That was 7 years ago, by the way. Oh, God, I'm old. Jesus Christ. But yeah, you can just hear like... Oh, I got that process touch. But yeah, basically, I was just kind of rent-free about Death Grips. I will be honest, in the past couple of years, I've listened to them less and less. But that's mostly because of their album output really slowing down. But like I said, there's been a lot of hearsay online that Death Grips could actually be shutting down. Like, for example, this post here on the subreddit saying they posted this online. They're never coming back. We are now at our best, and so Death Grips is over. We've officially stopped all currently scheduled live dates and cancelled our upcoming double album, The Powers That Be. We'll still be delivered worldwide after this year via Harvest, Third World Records. Death Grips was always and has been a conceptual art exhibition. Oh my God, it's even less legible, but obviously there's a pretty
as soon as I enter the ring,
being the breakup message.
Someone joined. That's so great.
Their upcoming album, despite the fact that Powers That Be came out 10 years ago. Now, if you look up a lot of news articles, they will talk about the possibility of Death Grips breaking up, and 99% of these articles will reference this DM conversation with one of the band members, Andy Morin, basically saying, yeah, it's over. I can't even take that sentence seriously. Stefan doesn't want to do it anymore. Stefan being Stefan Bernay, who's the lead vocalist in Death Grips. You know, the guy that goes, okay, that was the wrong movement to make. I was meant to be grabbing a microphone, but you understand. But is this DM real? Is Death Grips truly over, or is this an attention?
Oh my God, he knows.
On the Death Grips subreddit. Well, considering part of the community likes to piss on the floor at live shows, we'll have to dig a little bit deeper. By the way, the pissing on the floor gag, that is not an actual joke. That has happened multiple times at shows. I've talked about this before. I've actually done an entire video talking about Death Grips and just how, like, they have some of the worst people in their fan base imaginable.
Oh yeah,
I get it. 99% of the members, great people. I've gone to shows before. I've been to the ones in London, somehow survived. I went to the ones in Warsaw in Poland. Amazing people there. But unfortunately, Death Grips is unanimously known for having some bad actors in the community. There are clips of people basically just throwing missiles on stage to the point where the band members are like, nah, fuck this. You're not treating us with respect. We're just going to walk out. When I went to the show in Warsaw, it was absolutely chill. I met many of you guys there as well, and you were just all the nicest people. Some people there got a little bit too drunk, definitely. I think I spent a quarter of the show just trying to help this random guy who apparently went on his own and got absolutely plastered.
Well,
he was just sat there like he was about to have a stroke. I do want to say the difference between the Warsaw show in Poland and the London show in Brixton was like night and day. Again,
I think he
Polish
raged,
people,
but,
some of the nicest people you can ever meet on the planet. But before that, I went to Brixton, and this was my first experience ever seeing Death Grips live. And there was a guy in front of me that was 6'4", and he was clearly off his face on coke. And you know, he was looking around doing the doing the loose jaw thing that coke heads do for some reason. And keep in mind, he was completely off his rocker. This was the pre-show, and I think this was infamous for being one of the longest pre-shows imaginable, where all it was just a red light and they were playing this ascending music, and I think it went on for about an hour and a half. Great high there, buddy. Now, if you didn't know, Death Grips are an experimental American hip-hop band that are based in Sacramento in California. So technically, they're probably the only good thing to actually come out of California. One thing I do love about Death Grips is they have some of the most bizarre collabs imaginable. Like, did you know that they actually did a song with Robert Pattinson? Robert Pattinson is in Batman, as in, I keep seeing the Reddit posts where he acts like an incel. They also kind of had a collab with Shrek as well. Andrew Adamson, who directed Shrek 1 and 2, he actually gave some vocals for one of their most recent albums. And the inspiration goes really far. There are obviously a lot of mainstream artists out there that were massively inspired or fans of Death Grips. I mean, for example, the infamous clip of Tyler, the Creator, going to a Death Grips mosh pit and basically being the only person moshing. But also people you might not expect, like, for example, the late David Bowie in his final album, Black Star. He directly cited Death Grips as a reference. So even if you haven't really listened to Death Grips or don't really plan on listening to them at all, they've still had a huge impact on the music scene in general. Now, the band was formed all the way back in 2010. That was before Fortnite, so most Zoomers will have no idea who Death Grips are. Fortnite actually came out 7 years after Death Grips was formed. This goes out to you. To all the old heads. And they came out with a bunch of albums. You got Ex-Military, Money Store, No Love, Deep Web, Government Plates. Ex-Military, you'll never get it on Spotify. Good luck. You will never get it. I've seen some people try to upload it as like a podcast to get past the copyright. There are 50 billion samples per song in Ex-Military. That is why you will never see it on Spotify. I also want to say best song in that album was definitely Lord of the Game, but this is also the same person who rated Lil Uzi's cover of Echo 2K's GTR that he posted on his TikTok less than 24 hours ago. Now, one thing Death Grips is always known for is being quite mysterious to their fans. That's why when this, you know, allegation of them breaking up came about, people were definitely a little bit skeptical. I mean, in the past, they've straight up just not shown up to performances and also leaking an album early to get full-on dropped from their
Oh my god! Yeah.
label. By the way, if you know the particular album I'm talking about where they used an erect penis for the album cover, that is real, by the way. Here's the album. This is the mainstream one. You can still find the actual one online. Now, originally they disbanded around 10 years ago, but that's when the Twitter account BB Poltergeist came back online saying Death Grips is online. So yeah, Death Grips have been very elusive with their fans, which kind of makes you question, is this actually real, this conversation with Andy Morin that most people are basically running with as fact at the minute? Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like Death Grips just have had no interactions at all. There have been many people that have told anecdotal stories of them basically waiting for the show to end, trying to catch them when they're leaving, and, you know, being able to at least get something signed or exchange a few sentences. And from what these people are saying, with absolutely zero proof, by the way, and on Reddit, that these guys are genuinely down to earth, genuinely really nice people. Now, if you're not too familiar on Death Grips, you probably have seen the lead vocalist MC Ride or Stephen Burnett, and he is someone who is infamously known to just have a complete private life. He has no social media presence whatsoever, none publicly anyway. But one of the few things that people do know about him is some images were posted online of him painting. These are very old pictures. I think they date back to almost a decade ago, but like, it seems that the guy has absolutely insane talent. And I think this is one of the reasons why
Oh, oh, oh.
Competition is a great, beautiful thing.
Oh, random. Okay. Okay. Oh, Captain Falcon.
To do anything different or be any better. It can just be complacent and stay the same. That is the story of Overwatch for the longest time. A game that's existed in this pitiful, stagnant lull, this holding pattern, this autopilot mode, staying idle, where it doesn't do anything because it doesn't need to do anything, because anyone that wants a hero shooter is going to play it because all of the competitors wither and die pretty quickly, like Concord, for example. So Overwatch didn't need to be better. But they did do a big push with that whole scam Overwatch 2, that load of baloney, where all they did was just put a 2 in the name and then not follow through on a single promise they ever made. Still no PvE ever coming to the game. None of the promises being fulfilled. We don't need to go down this road. I've made fun of them plenty of times. I've thrown my fair share of tomatoes for that. But recently, there has been something that threatened the ecosystem a bit here of Overwatch. Marvel Rivals. And this is a very good thing for both Overwatch and Rivals. If you are the biggest fan of Marvel Rivals, you want Overwatch to get better, because Overwatch getting better means it's going to force Rivals to get better in order to stay competitive in the market. And if you're a huge Overwatch fan, God rest your soul, good heavens, Lord have mercy. If you're the biggest Overwatch fan, you want Rivals to continue to do extraordinarily well, because Rivals doing well is finally getting some actual tender love and care put into your
I need
game,
to stop
making
using
your
that
game
side
better, to stay
special,
competitive in the market.
dude.
Overwatch is finally doing something. You see, Overwatch is not good. In fact, it might be the worst thing possible. The only thing worse than Overwatch is death, and even that's pretty close. I don't like the game. I used to love the game. I have close to like 600 hours in it for the first 3 seasons. I loved it. And then it just started getting stale, and it never got better. And it's been
Okay, so it
stale
still does
ever
the
since.
thing where
There was a
if you
little
change the rules
spark,
of
like
the
a little
arena, it'll
ignition
match
in
make
me
you with
that got me
Japanese
back in Overwatch
players.
for a bit, with Overwatch 2
Just
going
like
to
a
5v5.
weird
I was
thing
like, oh, this is new
for
and
it to
different.
do.
And even that wore off. And now, Overwatch 2 is basically
Yeah, I gotta
Overwatch
kill.
1 again, where they're slowly reintroducing everything from Overwatch 1. 6v6. They just made a huge hoopla yesterday about bringing loot boxes back. You know your goose is cooked. You know you are desperate when you are celebrating the return of loot boxes. Now, as I mentioned, Overwatch is, at least to me, in a panicked state, trying to figure out what they can do to claw back some players, or keep whatever players they have left in their game instead of going to Rivals, which right now has all of the hype and all of the momentum. And their plan is basically just, hey, let's just dial everything back. Let's turn the clock back to when you guys liked Overwatch. You remember that? We're gonna do all of that again. Just ignore the 2 in the name. It's taking you back to the past to play a shitty game that sucks ass. It's just going from Overwatch 2 to Overwatch 1 again, but with more heroes now. And also, they did make a huge announcement with a large multitude of changes that are coming to the game. Some of them seem pretty big, like the introduction of perks and a third-person mode, as well as a slew of other changes, but they're
Probably
pretty
basic
big, like
and shit.
more substantial than Overwatch is used to having, because they haven't needed to make any big changes, because it's been the only bully on the block in the hero shooter genre until Marvel Rivals, which has absolutely exploded. The game is huge, and most people really like the game, actually. It's been able to hold over 250,000 players on just Steam since its release. And it's not showing any signs of slowing down, with constant updates and constantly listening to community feedback. Like the other day, Marvel Rivals rolled out this delusional brain-dead idea of doing a mid-season rank reset that everyone was vocal about their disgust with, saying like, hey, you just blowing from stupid town? Can we not do this? And the devs heard that, they're like, you're right. We won't do this. We're going to put away the Orb of Confusion, and we're not going to do that. Sorry. Like, that's great. If it was Overwatch, they would have rolled that out the next day just out of spite. Like, fuck you guys. Point is, Marvel Rivals has been absolutely biblically slapping Overwatch in the mainstream consciousness of hero shooters.
Yeah.
And in player count as well. Overwatch player numbers on Steam are brutal in comparison to Rivals, but there are a large chunk of players for Overwatch that are on console, and that same is true for Rivals, where it is likely more people on Rivals than Overwatch. Point is, Rivals has been shoving Overwatch into the lockers. It has been putting its head in the toilet and swirling the game, and now, because of this competition, Overwatch is finally doing something to try and breathe life back into the game and make a better product. So, we went over some of the changes on stream last night, and I think this is a great thing, both for Rivals and Overwatch. A new era of innovation and excitement. Loot boxes are back! It's so innovative, they've never tried that before. Not just the loot boxes, they're adding perks to the game similar to how Apex does it, and they're adding a Valorant-style game mode. Oh, wait, they're putting effort into it? No, why would they do that?
Heroes are about to get a whole lot more heroic with perks. Perks are here to completely redefine your strategy and how you play your favorite heroes. Think of them as hero-specific bonuses that level up your gameplay and not just your hero.
Oh
This means
shit!
you can
That is
customize
exactly
how
like
you play
Apex
in a
Legends,
match
yeah.
like never before.
Oh, it's back!
No.
Yeah!
The spoils of victory.
Yes! Yeah!
Major perks are gameplay shifting additions to your hero's kit, changing your core loop and redefining.
Tomorrow,
I
Marvel
just got the
Rivals
assist
announced
trophy,
perks.
dude.
Let's look at an example now with Orisa.
Stadium is packed.
Ugh. Yo, hey, what's up? It's good. I'm doing Sonic. Holy crap, it was so good with Sonic! Hold on, I think this might be my main. I think the mobility does it. What's the rank? Oh, you mean the ID? I forgot it. I, I could tell you after this match. How often do I stream? I try to do it every weekday at 6. Damn. Oh, good, good, good. I'm going for like 10 followers at the moment, cause oh yeah! Epic. I play Smash, Sims 4, Mario Party Jamboree, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I have the Booster Course Pass. Roblox, Minecraft, Astrobot. Um, well, thanks for choosing me to watch. No, fucking crocodile. I'm not the best at Smash, but if I've been doing like way better as Sonic instead of Mario.
Than I care to admit, and it's because I could never quite understand how I felt about it. Like, it's not a bad episode or anything, just an extremely confusing thing to do with his character. One where I can understand and even appreciate the thought process behind it, but
Yeah,
ultimately I feel it feels
so
not really
about this
acknowledging
character,
any
right?
aspect of Stewie's character, aside from
It's
the
meant-
traits created specifically for this episode.
I
The entire
feel
thing
like
features
the
Stewie
way
in
I
a
wanna
child
put it,
psychologist's office after
the
getting in trouble at
lore
school,
is like-
in which he attempts to put on a mask and not let his therapist in,
Oh, by the way,
by instead
here's the
trying to
code,
draw all the attention to his
lore dub.
insecurities, before quickly breaking down as we learn more about the facade he puts on just to get through the day. See, this would be interesting and give us more insight on his character. But nothing really said here
I made
applies
this
to
one
the Stewie we've
myself,
seen throughout the past
but
16
this one
seasons. And spoiler alert, has no consequence on how his
was made
character
by a
is handled
friend.
in the future. The episode may as well take place entirely within its own vacuum. Nothing explored here matters, and it's because they don't know what to focus on. And that's only because at this point in the series, there's nothing to Stewie. This seems like the kind of concept that would have been much better suited for Brian, you know, didn't he see a therapist at one point? The attempt to highlight him being different to other
come on,
kids, which makes him
Kazuya!
lonely, also why he tries to mask his feelings by the constant insults. But all of this just ends up leading to a dumb gag.
This isn't even how I really talk. This is how I talk. The accent is nothing more than an affectation.
The only notable reference they make towards his actual character is nothing more than a throwaway meta joke.
Well, I like to talk about world domination.
Shit!
Some people don't think I talk about it enough anymore, but mind your own beeswax is what I say to them.
In the end, it just comes off extremely pretentious, trying to present Stewie as being way more deep and badass than he's actually been for the past 10 years. Which, hey, I mean, suppose it worked out. This episode resulted in the writer getting nominated for some award. Huh, what a hack. What other shitty episodes has he written? Wait a second. You're telling me this guy has written some of my favorite episodes of the entire series? Brian, Portrait of a Dog, Brian and Lev, Road to Rhode Island, Stewie Griffin, The Untold Story, Brian and Stewie. This guy even wrote Mr. and Mrs. Stewie, the one with Penelope. This guy's a Family Guy freaking legend. How did he go from writing this string of bangers to the episode where Stewie gets himself pregnant with Brian's babies? What happened? I don't know. Maybe it was due to the gap he took on writing episodes to focus on creating his own show. The Prince. Wait a second. It all makes sense now. Okay, well, to be fair, the writing was on the wall. The Prince is already just a blatant Stewie Griffin clone. Horrible impression and everything.
Excuse me, do you have any tea that doesn't taste like piss?
Guess who voiced him? It only makes more sense now knowing the show was created by a guy who knew Stewie arguably more than anyone.
Holy shit, dude, I tried so damn hard. And I didn't even kill him once!
I have a firm belief that if Stewie started out in Family Guy the same way he's approached now, then I don't think his character would have been anywhere near as much of a pop culture icon as he once was. Mostly because his current character is so reliant on just name-dropping pop culture.
I hope you get those Adele tickets. You deserve them. It reminds me of the therapist's office Bethany Frankel goes to on The Real Housewives of New York City. I don't mean to name drop, but I kind of know Andy Cohen. He originally wanted me for the Rachel Zoe project, but I said no, so they went with Brad. That could have been me on Fashion Police with Melissa Rivers 14 times a year. Although I did hear Ryan Reynolds visited him, something to do with Deadpool, I guess, so it's not all horrible.
Thank
look, you got your Dunkin' Donuts coffee. You might as well tattoo "Can't Afford Starbucks" on your forehead.
I'm just gonna stop there because that was only 2.5 minutes into the goddamn episode. And it's not like that was never a part of his character, all the pop culture references. But at this point, that's all there's left to him. Gay jokes and referencing celebrities. Like that is Stewie now. He's just... well, he's the Prince. Ironically, the character who was so unique that he spawned an army of imitators has devolved to the point of being just as uninteresting as said imitators. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Stewie is a bad character now. Far from it. In fact, I think he's the best out of all the Griffins in the current seasons. But it's hard not to find his character so directionless. I mean, hey, at least they've attempted to do new things with him every now and then. They introduced a new rival for the first time in ages called Doug, but he offered so little and played off Stewie so poorly that they wind up just killing him off screen after a few appearances because fans hated him so viscerally.
I mean, that's the story I would have told this week, but whatever. Oh, and Doug died in a commuter plane crash this morning.
I have nothing else to say about him. I'm glad he's dead. Other than that, they've made a slight return to highlighting the fact that Stewie is a baby and building episodes around that. Their big 300th special was all about his first word. They did one where he gets jealous of Chris for having Rupert before him. We see a lot more of his school life. They even did an episode where he gives himself the personality of an actual baby. But I think what all this is missing is that balance they once struck so well. That Stewie could be a baby while also doing these crazy sci-fi stories that gave him actual adventures to go on. Because nowadays it always feels like it's either one or the other. It's either he's a baby going through your typical baby plot with no spin whatsoever, or the fact that he's one gets pretty much forgotten altogether as he's treated like a mini adult by all the characters around him. It's either one or the other, rarely both. Some of my favorite Stewie episodes from recent times combine these traits to do a story that can only work with a character like Stewie, such as Dog Bites Bear where Brian kills Rupert and has to take Stewie up a mountain to spread his ashes, which shows that balance is still something these writers are clearly capable of accomplishing. This is not that recent of an episode, but I also think Road to the North Pole did this excellently. Playing off the plot of him still believing Santa's real, and turning out Santa actually is real, with Stewie's whole goal being to murder him. A Christmas special like that feels way more Family Guy than... well, like I said, he makes a vain attempt to be nice, Meg dies, he's sad about it, so then Meg's brought back. At the end of the day, though, I ultimately think the biggest issue plaguing Stewie now is that sense of directionlessness. Yeah, he's still a fun character. He's just unfortunately rarely given anything interesting to do. Either way, I still like you, Stewie. I just want to see you return to form, embrace what made you unique. Because otherwise, you're just going to continue becoming like every...
But if you want to send me a request, I already did send you a friend request. Did you not accept it? United States.
Fully grown man watching cartoons on the internet for my very lucrative and successful career, meaning my life has peaked. And since I'm currently living in the high-flying prime time of my lifetime, I will never know the fears of facing irrelevancy or having to reinvent myself to recapture the general public's favor after the ever-accelerating digital age creeps my entertainment value out of public consciousness and into submission. My ever-evolving stage presence and timeless material will guarantee my success for my entire life. But what if it didn't?
Oh, by the way, if you mentioned
what if I was still the beloved titan of industry that I am now, but the industry was changing at such a rapid pace that just being really good wasn't good enough? What if I had to do something radical, something extreme, something edgy? What if I had to do what Warner Brothers did to the Looney Tunes back in 2005? What if I had to fuck every...
My voice just now? In my opinion, I think it's really fast. Can you not hear it or something?
everything up. Now, this whole video is going to focus on the Looney Tunes property as a whole and a specific spin-off from their time, but for context, we're just going to talk right now about Bugs Bunny, and you'll see why later. Or you won't. I don't really care. It's not my job to force you to pay attention. It's just my job to make sure that you're just interested enough to keep the video running. Bugs Bunny is a time-honored warrior of sarcastic comedy. Who in the hell doesn't know Bugs Bunny? No one. So I'm going to skip the cliche YouTuber history lesson that takes up 80% of the video to pad runtime, and we're going to get to the good bit. Bugs Bunny started out goofing around in cartoon shorts, short cartoon films. We're in 2023 and the term shorts has taken on a far more disgusting and sinister meaning. Bugs Bunny started out goofing around in short cartoon films in the 1930s and maintained the same format from pretty much then until now. Bugs sits around doing nothing with his worthless life, some adversary shows up to fuck with him, and Bugs turns the tables by fucking with them so hard that they end up either dead or insane. It's funny stuff. And all of that works super well, swell, peachy, super duper keen, until it didn't. You see, Bugs' shtick was beginning to run dry with the more modern and sophisticated cartoon watchers of the 2000s. I am of course talking about children, and I'm also not at all joking. During this literal millennial time period, the cartoon block run by Warner Brothers, Kids
Oh, it's VTuber stuff. Here's the thing. Number one, I do not have. The only reason why I use my phone as a webcam is because so I could record my Switch. And second off, these VTubers aren't really my style. I bet you're really good at these things, but I'm sorry, it just doesn't fit my style at all. I want it to be silly and goofy. I did see the work. Hold on, do you have low latency on? Because I'm pretty sure that you don't. But I apologize, but these are not really my style. And I'm pretty sure if you sent more. Yeah, I'm sorry. Your art is really good. Don't get me wrong, but it's just not the style I want. But hey, if you're welcome to stay on the stream if you wanna. Besides, you ask for the Smash code. I could send it again if you want to. If you want me to. It's 4W7TX. Yeah, again, I'm sorry. It's not really my thing.
WB was hitting a very sharp downturn. A big contributing factor very well was probably the increasingly impressive competition's lineup. And this competition didn't even come purely from the outside. Cartoon Network by this point was also a subsidiary of Warner Brothers, but their rip-roaring entrees, I meant to say entries but we're keeping that in, into the modern era of animation definitely hampered any blossoming interest the youth market would have in the Looney Tunes. Let's take a look at a lineup of popular Cartoon Network cartoons from the early 2000s, largely considered the absolute peak of that channel's history. Johnny Bravo, Dexter's Lab, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Ed, Edd n Eddy, which, by the way, is the greatest cartoon of all time, no discussion there. Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, Megas XLR, which... I know I say every fucking video I have to make another video on something, but I just want any excuse to watch that show again because gone far too quick before its time. Oh, how I miss it. Anyway, Powerpuff Girls, and perhaps most importantly for this discussion, Samurai Jack, Teen Titans, and the influx of popular animes to the West such as Dragon Ball Z. Now, those last three are extremely important, but really take the whole list in. Did you notice a pattern? We are now reaping the rewards of the golden age of television animation. The 90s cartoon renaissance has bled into the experimentation of the early 2000s. Shows are getting more complex, more character-driven in their writing, more nuanced in their themes, and most importantly, darker. Oh sure, Ed, Edd n Eddy and Johnny Bravo regularly featured slapstick that was directly inspired by Looney Tunes, but they also drove into struggles and relatable problems that kids could identify with, such as trying to scam all your friends and trying to sleep with hot chicks. Okay, obviously that's a joke, but both shows were actually really well-written fish out of water stories about maturity and growing up. Courage the Cowardly Dog and Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy weren't afraid to be genuinely scary and unnerving in terms of their intended audience. Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls, Megas XLR, Samurai Jack, Teen Titans, Dragon Ball Z, all those other animes, which I will remind everyone that Dragon Ball Z especially used to air on Cartoon Network during regular daytime programming hours for many years, were really fucking violent. Super unapologetically violent. Put the fucking clip on the screen where Jack cuts a beetle robot in half and like it's the oil is a stand-in for blood, but it's really obvious it's supposed to be blood and he's fucking bathing in the stuff, and that was like episode 2. Now later on Samurai Jack did actually kill actual humans, but that was on Adult Swim and explicitly made for the audience that grew up with it. This was for kids. This is nuts. Looney Tunes never did any of that stuff. Yeah, Looney Tunes cartoons feature relatable issues, but they were ones that typically appealed to adults and the nuances of the nuclear family dynamic, not discussions aimed for school children specifically. Yeah, Looney Tunes totally could be scary and unnerving, but it was typically done for a gag or two and then moved on from. And yes, duh, Looney Tunes is violence. Yes, but never beyond comedic effect. People in Looney Tunes don't ever actually get hurt unless it's there to make you laugh. Now fucking Tom and Jerry, on the other hand, dip their toes into the water of dark shit. Ooh-wee, but that's another story. Well, I think I made my point. I'll go ahead and mosey on over to the entire reason I made the— oh wait, it's Nickelodeon and SpongeBob SquarePants. A whole balloon I didn't even talk about. And then of course there was also the Disney Channel, which, you know, I gotta be honest, Kids WB was pretty fucked by this point. Yeah, they had original programming and all the backlog of WB stuff they could ever rely on, but Looney Tunes ain't cutting it no more. Now, Warner Brothers did see this coming for a while and took measures to counteract it. Typically, since the 1960s, the Looney Tunes short films and other relevant side series like Merry Melodies and Everything in That House were mashed together into compilation shows that were shown as 30-minute episodes on, well, Kids WB and Cartoon Network and pretty much every network they could. Now, when you're just shoehorning in technically reruns of classic animation stylings alongside these new age modern cartoon affairs, it's gonna get old quick. So now it's time for everyone's favorite dumpster fire lit aboard a sinking ship.
Okay, I'll send
spin-offs.
I have a meeting.
First, Warner Brothers hits everyone with Tiny Toon Adventures back in 1990, which was good. You make a new cast of characters that don't skew too far from their original formulas. You make them punky teens with attitude, thanks Power Rangers, and you update the pop culture references to be ones that the parents watching with their kids will actually understand and laugh at, instead of ones that you'd have to have stormed the beaches of Normandy to get a chuckle at. Whammo! You've now got a good show that's a nice little passing of the torch. They even managed to work in a ton of cameos of the original, like Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and Porky Pig and all the old Looney Tunes. It's a perfect way to say, hey kids, look, this shit's cool and it's for you. It's also even produced by Steven Spielberg, which now means that we get a big giant budget and access to the entire Warner Brothers studio in-house full-piece orchestra, which leads to some of the best music work in television cartoon history, and I would say debatably some of the best music accompaniment in cartoons ever. You know what? Fuck it. Watch this. Watch this scene right now. Do it. Pay attention. If you know absolutely anything about art, animation, directing, or composition, you know that shot was really, really fucking impressive. And also, maybe even retroactively more importantly, this series eventually led to Steven Spielberg making even more cartoons with Warner Brothers, which culminated in Freakazoid, which, while fancy fucking that, I just might have an attachment or two to that show.
This episode is also dedicated to Mrs. Ashley Hugbiz of Fuller's Earth, Arizona, because we like saying the word Hugbiz. Go ahead, try it. Hugbiz.
Hugbiz!
Hugbiz! Hugbiz!
I don't know. Great start, Warner Brothers. What's next? Oh yeah, Tasmania. Okay, so I don't really remember this show, Tasmania. I even Googled a bunch of threads on it, and it seems like it always falls into the camp of, oh yeah, oh, I've seen that, yeah. Oh, I remember that one, yeah. But no one remembers anything about it, just that it was a thing. Reviews of it that I dug up from back when it actually was like airing seem positive. People remember it and go, oh, cool. The end. It's fine. Okay, after that, we have a host of really lazy spin-offs that are actually just rebranded clip shows. Then we got Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, which I guess if you can't get enough Scooby-Doo, then this is the motherfucking show for you. Baby Looney Tunes, which doesn't really count because it's explicitly made for preschoolers and a younger audience, and it would air in time slots when all the grown-up kids were at school. So wait, that doesn't matter. And then...
Okay.
Duck Dodgers. Yes. Yes.
All right.
Warner Brothers, you nailed it. You absolutely nailed it. You took Looney Tunes, you found the perfect format and universe to expand on, and you turned it into a slightly more mature, more world-built, more complex show that blended action set pieces with the old classic Looney Tunes comedy. Duck Dodgers is a masterclass in how to make a spin-off, and also has one of the most bizarre crossovers in cartoon history that's on my video list. I swear to fucking God it is. Even with all that, it still wasn't good enough.
He tried being his own game.
How quickly we forget that in 2003, Looney Tunes tried to capitalize on this newfound momentum with the old "it's working plan, and made Looney Tunes back in action. A movie so flim-flammy, it killed both the Looney Tunes' new potential hype and Brendan Fraser's career. Again. But he's back now, so everything's fine.
Quit.
Look.
He just quit.
2005,
Rage quitter.
None of this is good enough. They had the newfound swing of Space Jam, but then it was just like flop after flop, and all the good stuff just kind of became its own thing. It didn't really carry the brand any further.
Yeah, he left.
Tunes are losing their dominating grip on the market that says, Disney's too babyish for me. Give me something that goes harder. So they went even harder. What I'm about to play for you now is the initial pitch concept for what this entire video has been leading up to. If you don't know what I'm about to talk about, I just want to remind you, this is absolutely 100% real and was supposed to be taken seriously.
Hey, you gotta check this out.
Check what out?
The TV.
Scientists are now saying that the giant meteor is going to strike the Earth any second. The Earth has fallen off axis.
Sightings of giant mutated worms. Supernatural warlords with plans of world domination.
The discovery of a hidden dimension.
Do it.
Peril, some say our only hope would be a
He saw Sonic and then left. That's fucking great. Oh, that's great.
What's up, Doc? The year 2772. The world threatened by sinister forces of evil. The solution, a superhero team like no other, and that's where I come in. I made a few phone calls and organized this little group. Duck, the weapons expert, Slick, vehicles and surveillance, Roadster the speed, Lexi Bunny the disguise expert, Spaz the muscle, and of course the leader of the pack, the master with his hands, Buzz Bunny. Although you might think these faces are familiar, trust me, this is a whole new world. This is the world of the lunatics.
Wow, that thing looks so cool, and I'm totally not being sarcastic about it. Hey, let me play a clip from a local news organization covering the reboot and polling a child on what he thinks about it.
What do you think, Kenny?
That's an evil Bugs Bunny thing. It is.
Wow, that response wasn't good at all. Well, if children don't like it, then maybe the older nostalgic audience for these good old cartoons will dig it and think it's a cool, silly idea. Let's watch this clip from a viral internet video made back in 2006 talking about this whole thing.
I don't like you. Hell yes you do, you butt fucking d.
This was bad. This was really bad. Absolutely everyone hated this fucking thing. It was so bad, people made petitions online to change the design structure of it to make it less nightmarish. Oh, and by the way, the leading poll was created by a 12-year-old boy from Oklahoma. That's how much they missed the mark. That kid's literally even too young to have appreciated the Looney Tunes in any meaningful way. How fucked up is this?
Whatever you call him, this certainly isn't your daddy's Bugs. The news hit the blogosphere splat like a pie in the face. Animation chat rooms went berserk. Someone tell me this is all a big joke. Continue to draw me like this, Buster, and we'll both be out of work.
Surprising that they feel that there's really a need to update Bugs or the other characters.
Cartoon historian Peter Sanderson teaches comics as literature at New York University. He cautions,
when you stray too far from the core, it doesn't last. It's like a rubber band, you're pulling it out of shape and it snaps back. Eventually, you return to the tradition because that's what has made the character last for decades.
Okay, so that guy's doing an Elmer Fudd impression, right? He's totally doing an Elmer Fudd impression, right? No? So I'm just an asshole for making fun of how a man speaks, huh? Yeah, I figured. And shockingly, the large soulless corporation behind this entire mess did the exact opposite thing that each and every facet of their business model and competition trained them not to do. They listened to and gave a shit about their fans. The idea was shit canned, it was never to be seen again, and the rest is history. No, I'm just fucking with you. For those of you who watched Cartoon Network in the mid-2000s, you know what I'm about to say. For those of you who aren't aware of this and haven't seen it, I'm so sorry I have to do this to you. Lunatics Unleashed aired its pilot episode in 2005. Let's watch the new and improved intro as best we can, depending on how I have to edit it for copyright. Huh. Don't worry, I have the answer. Sometime during production, the designs were softened to an almost comical degree, and all of the characters' names and likenesses were changed to give them stronger ties to the baseline characters from which this shitty fever dream all drew inspiration. In terms of lore, the internet's favorite thing, this cast of superheroes, I honestly don't know what they're supposed to be, are descendants of the original 1940s all-star cast. This isn't Daffy Duck, it's Danger Duck. This isn't Road Runner, it's Rev Runner. This isn't the Tasmanian Devil, it's Slam Tasmanian, which, alright, you know what, that is actually way cooler. And keynote speaker of this shit show convention, this isn't Bugs Bunny, this isn't Buzz Bunny, it's Ace Bunny. And don't worry, everyone hated him too.
Oh kids, you don't understand. We're bringing Looney Tunes into the new millennium in a way that the original cast could not. It's all for the kids.
I thought you weren't replacing them.
Just think of all the kids. All those happy boys. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Warner Brothers, in their infinite wisdom, were in too deep to this debauchery and figured their only way forward was to blast their way through.
By the way, no, by the way, there's a fandom business.
Through, dump what they had, and move on. And by dump what they had, I mean air the show for 2 full seasons? Not just finish one and try it, but do it again? Even though everyone hated it, I'm very carefully tiptoeing around this discussion because in the comments, there's gonna be like 5 people who are like, dude, Lunatics Unleashed kicks ass and it's the bestest show ever made. And I just want you to know that you're wrong, and we'll see why you're wrong because we're gonna watch it together, but I'm not at that part yet. There's nothing left to really do by this point except to watch the first episode and talk about it. Now, look, I could have just watched the show and critiqued it from the beginning, but to me, knowing all of this context really drives in home the diarrhea on display for a lot of my deconstructions. Just reviewing the show is one thing, but learning the sad, silly tales around them is like the cherry on top of the sundae. If you're going in blind to this whole thing like I was before I did all this Googling and tracked down a copy of the show, well then allow me to pop your cherry. We begin in Acmetropolis, a city where Blade Runner vomited all over Cyberpunk 2077 and then forced it to eat that vomit, which it then proceeded to vomit all over Blade Runner 2049, in the middle of a dangerous, record-breaking heat wave. But because irony is a great way to be funny when your writers are too stupid to be subtle, a mysterious giant iceberg shows up in the middle of the metropolis and begins freezing all the citizens.
Now that is cold. Where'd you get it? Iceland?
Actually, no. I just picked up at a pizza joint downtown, which I must say is abnormally cold for this time of year. But if you really like the pizza they have in Iceland, I could go back and get some of you back in 4.2 seconds. But of course, that is just an estimation because you never know about traffic.
Okay, I gotta sit down. I'm gonna sit down on the. I'm gonna sit on the floor. Oh God. Oh fuck. Okay, my head really. Oh God. My head really fucking hurts. There's so much going on in this introduction that I already need to make fun of. I'm gonna get a chair. Okay, first off, it's pretty common grade school haha gotcha knowledge to point out that Iceland and Greenland are misnomers. Because Greenland is about 80% covered in ice, and Iceland, by contrast, features far more temperate foliage and, you know, regular wilderness, not like tundra shit. Now, normally I wouldn't care about this potentially better joke, but the one delivering it is Techie Coyote. Okay, he's the descendant of Wile E. Coyote. Wile E. Coyote, a character whose entire shtick is knowledge blinded by hubris. Techie Coyote should have made the distinction and honed in on the funnier punchline for that, instead of setting up Rev Runner for the punchline, which was not nearly as funny. Second of all, this is our first introduction to any of the lunatics. Techie Coyote and Rev Runner of the lunatics. Okay, pause. Pause. These names are fucking hysterical. If these were done as a joke, or done to intentionally try to be as over the top and parodying of the 90s edginess as possible, then this would absolutely wrap around to being cool again. I would love it. I would actually love it. But the fact that this was all meant to be taken completely 100% seriously, means that I'm going to have to say these names for you in a very matter-of-fact announcing voice just to get it out of my system so I can read the rest of this script. Okay, here we go. Ace Bunny, Lexi Bunny, Danger Duck, Rev Runner, Slam Tasmanian, Techie Coyote. Those are their names, and I will respect them. Sorta. Kinda, not really. But back to the fucking video. This is the first introduction to any of the lunatics, and it immediately opens up 600 questions, and all of them are pretty stupid. If we assume the pizza place was frozen like the people in the intro, how is the pizza fully frozen but not the box? If we assume the pizza place wasn't directly attacked but is facing residual effects of all the freezing going on, does that mean Rev Runner was served an obviously inedible frozen chunk of water with the Italian dish trapped inside it caveman style? Or did he steal it from the restaurant in the middle of a literal supervillain terrorist attack?
I don't know.
If the attack didn't affect the pizza joint, which seems to be the most likely scenario because Rev Runner's demeanor implies he's completely oblivious that there's an attack going on when he went outside, why is the pizza frozen to begin with? Did Rev Runner speedboat his way into the pizza's industrial freezer and rip out some leftovers that the employees were saving for the end of their shift? Then he made a mad dine and dash for the exit? The bigger question is, doesn't this all likely mean Rev Runner just stole a pizza? And he's supposed to be a... Okay, I don't know if he's a superhero, but at the very least, an original character in a dark alternate universe Looney Tunes fanfiction timeline roleplay Discord? Again, I really don't know what everyone here does, but I don't think stealing pizzas is their MO. And finally, there is one question that this scene does answer, and it has nothing to do with this show specifically. It's just filling in some mental gaps for me that I've had going on for a while. I get it now. This dynamic. I totally get it now. I fully comprehend how a sizable chunk of the internet can put a romantic and overtly sexual relationship between these two. This scene has confirmed it. I get it now.
Hey, Ace! On it, Tech.
Oh, Jesus! Jesus fucking Christ, I just did a comical over-the-top Japanese pratfall that was so unbelievable. Look, yes, I know, in the intro to the show, it gives us a rundown of the team and all of their powers, but all I can fucking see here is, and say it with me because I know you know the words at home, edgy Bugs Bunny shooting laser beams out of his eyes. This is not a show. This is a fucking Robot Chicken skit. This is not a legitimate Warner Brothers property. This is the ramblings of a stay-with-his-parents stoner, not anything sensical that a scriptwriter should even acknowledge as a good idea. This is what you do when you make an anime parody episode, not the first fucking frames that your most recognizable character base is to be judged on. Look, I'm sorry. I'm getting a little long-winded. Allow me to put it a little more succinctly. What the fuck is going on? What the fuck is going on is that the writers are at least understanding Daffy's character, or rather his super descendants, who's just literally him with a different name. Duck here spends his introductory moments flexing in the mirror while trying to come up with a superhero name that properly fits his incredible range of powers. That's a Daffy Duck moment, which means this character might actually work. Oh yeah, and one more important detail. He's not shooting fucking laser beams out of his eyes! Okay, you see this door behind me? You see this door right here? This big door that somehow if I hit it, it would be made out of cloth on my end, even though it's made of steel. This door is about to reveal Lola Bunny's descendant, and I'm really curious what's going on here. Now you see, in the original Space Jam film, Lola's entire point was to serve two purposes in life. Everyone wanted to fuck her, and she was good at basketball. Think of her as the Chuck Jones version of Wilt Chamberlain. But then, in more modern years, Warner Brothers had a few head-scratcher meetings and said, you know, maybe women would be more interested in our properties if our version of Minnie Mouse wasn't just a character there to slam dunk and flaunt her pussy everywhere. Which is awesome, by the way, and didn't need changing, but that's my journalistic opinion. Anyway, when the Looney Tunes show rolled around in 2011, which is about 6 years after this show, which, if you haven't watched it, it's a very, very, very good sitcom take on the version of Wilt Chamberlain. But then in more modern years, Warner Brothers had a few head-scratcher meetings and said, you know, maybe women would be more interested in our properties if our version of Minnie Mouse wasn't just a character there to slam dunk and flaunt her pussy everywhere. Which is awesome, by the way. Whole Looney Tunes cast, they changed Lola from being an obvious athlete disguised as a whore and made her a quirky, obsessive girlfriend type with a whole inexplicable life of her illogical nonsense. In even more recent years, they've also tried to give Lola a strong girl power angle, taking her boob and butt bravado and twisting it into a Xena warrior princess cabal in Space Jam 2. Long story short, Lola started out as an alley-oop for Michael Jordan and an oopsie broken condom for Bugs Bunny, before transforming into an oddball and a bad bitch in the last decade. And the key word of that sentence is last decade, because Lunatics Unleashed came out in 2005, which means Lexi Bunny, the descendant of Lola Bunny, is based 100% on a bona fide bimbo. And I wanted to add that context because I want you to be as excited as I am for whatever the fuck they think is going to be a good character walking through this door.
Did you order more than one pie?
No, why?
Cause Slam is in the house.
What the fuck am I watching, man? So Slam shows up and I'm really mad because he's all frozen and shit, and a guy named Slam was obviously destined to have a cool intro. The Lunatics get a call from Stativa? Satavia? Siddhartha Buddha? Some lady. And Ace Bunny's voice actor just sounds off, and I can't figure out why, but here, check out this clip and tell me I'm crazy.
Lunatics, we have a problem.
You got that right, Sadavia. I'd say we got a serious problem.
The elite global defense force, I think, just now notices that the city they live in is being flash frozen, so Ace Bunny decides it's time to shoehorn in his catchphrase that I guess the Bugs Family line has been saying for literally over 800 years by this point.
Yeah, what's up, Sadavia? Certainly not the temperature.
So far, nobody
Certainly
can figure
not
out where this
temperature.
iceberg came from. I don't have to tell you what will happen if the temperature keeps dropping.
Nonsense.
I knew it. We're gonna lose Cable again.
Who is Sadavia? Who? Is this Granny? Is this Granny's long-lost descendant? Maybe it's fucking Dan Backslide's long-lost cousin. Who are you?
Oh my god.
You are the most un-Looney Tune looking human ever.
I
And for
better
this
hope
show,
that
that's
this
very
idiot-
impressive. Look
that-
at this screen cap.
that this artist
Look at
will
it.
get a
Really
YouTube
take it
right
in.
and not,
Show
like,
this to anyone
draw-
who doesn't
either
know what
draw it
this
like
is and tell
anime
them
style
this
or
is the
same
modern
thing,
Looney
but, like,
Tunes reboot airing
shading.
later this year.
But I mean,
See
that's
how they
kind of an
react.
upgrade, but
Look at these stern faces coming from creatures who are known for cross-dressing to make his enemies horny and going meep meep. We're wrapping back around and stupid again, and I'm starting to love it, but only because I feel like I'm watching Looney Tunes as directed by Zack Snyder.
Tech, we'll need some toys to melt this ice cube.
Excuse me, Chief. They're not toys. They're precision handcrafted alloy instruments.
I've heard that far too many times from people defending their
Like,
anime
I mean, he
figurines.
kinda
It
sounds
doesn't
like
matter
Knuckles.
what they're made out of, the hot glue marks are gonna stick for life, kids.
We'll take those too. But first, the toys.
The Retrofire Master Blaster. Hold it in the palm of your hand. Squeeze twice, and
Immediately after
Me
the
Gunner.
scene, Slam gets
Me
his foot
Gunner.
caught in one of the guns while he transforms and flies around the room, and it's really poorly animated, and more importantly, it doesn't even come close to getting such a genuine giggle out of me as this frame right here. I'm sorry, can you
Me
blame
Gunner.
me? I know I keep pausing to point out how batshit this is, but
Me
it's like
Gunner.
watching The Lighthouse with Willem Dafoe. Each and every frame can be considered its own masterpiece. Okay, so then everyone gets out their jetpacks and they fly outside when Ace Bunny
Whenever they do the arm is a gun or a blaster or thing, I always default to like it's me Gunner. It's all like take Maisie for example. That's just me Gunner.
says time to jet, except Rev Runner doesn't have a jetpack and makes blue fire somehow, and they also never explain that, and it's not really important because those jetpacks are very toyetic, and I'm hoping I can still get to the Toys R Us in time to drop kick a crowd of 5th graders in my way from getting that last one. Sorry, that joke was probably too unbelievable. You know, the fact that there would ever be Lunatics toys, not the Toys R Us thing. Oh, a man can dream. So the Looney Tunes with designs last seen on a knockoff backpack in a poor shop in the middle of a rural Indian village try blasting the ice with their blasters. It doesn't work. At all. It's making me question the blaster's inclusion in the first place, so it's time for Plan B.
You're on, Slam buddy.
Okay, so why wasn't this Plan A? Why do we have to go through the whole laser blaster gun bullshit when Slam Tasmanian, who I'm probably naming my firstborn son after, could have single-handedly taken care of the giant iceberg within seconds? The most cardinal sin of Lunatics is absolutely the fact that we're 6 minutes in and it's just painfully unfunny. Oh, trust me, there's been a good handful of jokes that I've cut out that just don't land in any capacity, but after that, the most offensive thing about the whole show is that everyone in it's just kind of an idiot. But not the kind of Looney Tunes idiot where they'd go back and forth in a clever dance of outwitting each other. It's more so in a I told you to stop eating things you found under the refrigerator kind of idiot. So Slam somehow melts all the ice in the city by spinning around really, really fast, and Danger Duck gets dick-devastatingly jealous and wants to start a discussion that... Why Lexi Bunny got tiny butt cheeks? Why Lexi Bunny got tiny butt cheeks? Techie don't have any tiny butt cheeks. Why Lexi Bunny got tiny butt cheeks? Slam spins fast enough to become global warming's best ally when Lexi Bunny's tiny butt cheeks and her extra long ears pick up that the iceberg is doing something, and then it crumbles to reveal a giant Viking warship. Okay, wait, stop. Look at the scenery in this shot. The iceberg is very, very clearly in the middle of the city. There's buildings and stuff. And in the establishing shot on the monitor, it shows it is smack dab in the middle of downtown. How did they get to a dock? How is there a giant boat in front of the waterfront and that's where everyone is now? Look, I know "What's up, Doc" is Bugs Bunny's catchphrase, but there's 3 key differences between the old delivery and this. Number 1, the catchphrase refers to a doctor, not a shipping dock. 2, this is Ace Bunny and his team, not Bugs Bunny. And 3, and most importantly of all, this show sucks absolute fucking dick. And out of the ship jump some cyber Vikings who are, in each and every way, cooler designs than our protagonists.
What's up, Doc?
I am gonna.
Gonna what? Go to a Viking convention at the Civic Center?
No, we're here to take over your world.
You know, you Frosted Flakes might as well go back to where you came from, because this is a no-invasion zone.
Did you see it? I pointed out earlier that the animation is really bad, but this is really embarrassing. That the animation...
A no-invasion zone.
Did you see it?
Came from.
Over your world.
You know, you Frosted Flakes might as well go back to where you came from, because this is a no-invasion zone.
Did you see it? I pointed out earlier that the animation is really bad, but this is really embarrassing. Hi kids, Hugbee's here, and it's time for another chapter of everyone's favorite segment, Why Japanese Anime is Peak Animation. Anime understands a very good principle of creating the very time-inducing medium of animation. You put your best stuff on display and cut corners when it doesn't matter. Have you ever noticed that tons of animes have incredible, amazing, well-animated intros, and then a lot of the time, not always, but a lot of the time, the actual show's animation just kind of very slightly begins sliding down in quality and never hits the level of the intro? That's because anime intros are very often outsourced to other studios who can dedicate way more time to just that sequence, while the main animation team focuses on producing the entire show. For example, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the best anime, is a very well animated show made by David Production, but their intros, which are very complex, well choreographed visual delights, come from Kamikaze Doga, or Kamikaze Duga. I'm gonna say Doga, and everyone's gonna get mad if I'm wrong, and I'm not gonna care. This also happens in a ton of Western cartoons as well. Check out this clip from the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles intro from 1987, and now compare it to the actual animation of the show. There's a noticeable decline in quality, right? Now, the key difference is JoJo's and Ninja Turtles understand that they have already won the audience over after the incredible title sequence, which is important because you're going to be seeing that opening title sequence most likely more than any other animation in the show. Once that's established, the job of the main studio is to create solid enough animation that fits within the budget and time frame of the show's production, but is also serviceable enough or impressive enough to the people who actually want to watch the whole show. Now let's tie this back into the Warner Brothers Uncreative Vomit Party. Sorry, I meant to use the official title. Let's tie this back into Lunatics Unleashed. The Lunatics Unleashed intro is really bad. It's clips from episodes with character key art posts and a whir of largely useless special effects. It sucks. And for a cartoon from the 2000s, it feels very blatantly like a quick slapdash job to take advantage of the new emerging field of lazy cut and paste schedule smashing digital animation. And the point I'm making with all of this is that if your intro is a stale generic piece of shit that's not selling your show in any way, and your animation of your show is a copy and paste digital hackery, then your consistency better be really fucking high, because people are going to be paying attention to the writing, characters, and world building more than anything else. So this animation error of Ace Bunny's jetpack blinking the fuck out of existence should piss you off just as much as it does me, because I can't be the only one paying attention. Okay, fine. We can calm down with one of the few enjoyable bits from the show so far.
We will conquer your world by any means necessary.
No, you won't.
Yes, we will.
No, you won't.
Yes, we will.
Yes, you will.
No, we won't conquer your world.
Have it your way.
Ooh, I will enjoy crushing you, rabbit!
Really standard Bugs Bunny style back and forth here, and I'll admit it got a chuckle out of me the first time I watched. But it's specifically because while the animation here is just really bad, the counterplay of these over-the-top X to the extreme character designs having such a childish argument gets me a bit giggly. When this dynamic happens in a classic Technicolor cartoon, there's some actual smug banter going on. But in this cartoon, it's like watching Captain Picard and a Klingon sitting in a car while Picard hovers his hand over the Klingon and says, "I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you." It's just hilariously out of character by just glance alone. You don't even need context to know that something isn't right here.
Let's put this city on ice!
They rely entirely on Ace Bunny to use his laser vision, and it doesn't work, so they all just kind of stand there to get frozen together, even though each and every one of them has a laser cannon that was made by Techie, and they spent 3 whole minutes introducing us to the fact that they all have superpowers, but I don't know. Everyone just huddle together and be stupid, I guess. How did the gang get all frozen together in what looks like their key art poses when just before this they were clearly huddled together having emotions and stuff? No, look, that is not at all how they were frozen, and why are Rev Runner's eyes totally blacked out? Anyway, Danger Duck's superpower, which I didn't talk about before because who gives a shit, is teleportation. And while he's entirely frozen from tip to toe, thereby unable to think or move, he uses his teleportation to get out of the ice block. And now I get to bring up one of my favorite arguments in all of fiction, which I lovingly dub the Ant-Man paradox. Teleportation as a power in fiction pretty much can never work unless you establish the caveats that you can't control it or there's limits, etc., etc. Because if you are given rampant location immediate change, such as growing and shrinking in size, teleporting, zapping, etc., etc., I need you to ask yourself this question and realize that that concept ruins any and all stories. It's called the Ant-Man paradox because it was very often brought up as a topic of debate during the Avengers movies, but it's an idea that's been around for a while. Why doesn't Danger Duck, at any point in this story, just teleport directly into the anus of his enemies and instantaneously explode them from the inside out? Made you think. The gang continues to make more painful jokes when they get a phone call from everyone's favorite artificial sweetener, Sadavia. And this is the part of the show that gets really weird. Like really weird. I don't know why they did this, and it's cool that they did this, and I just don't have a good explanation for why this is part of the episode. Anyway, when that strange tangent is over, Sadavia boringly explains what we all have completely and utterly figured out just by watching the show. And the gang's attacked and the Vikings shoot a big blaster cannon that uses a stock ray gun sound effect that you've no doubt heard 400 times before. We, the audience, are then treated to another gourmet smattering of impressively unfunny jokes, and then Exposition Bunny explains that being frozen in the ice block together short-circuited their jetpack backpacks, which keen viewers will point out should not affect